Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the November 21st, 2017 meeting of the Downers Grove Village Council. It is my pleasure to call this meeting to order. If you haven't already done so, there are copies of our agenda on either side of the room on the conveniently placed shelves. I would encourage you to please pick one up and you can follow along with tonight's proceedings. You'll note that there are multiple opportunities for public comment on tonight's agenda. There will be opportunities for public comment after each item that is on our agenda, as well as a segment that we set aside under item 5, which is reserved for public comments of a general nature. At that point in the evening, any members of the audience have any questions or comments of a general nature, we'd invite you to please come to the podium, tell us who you are, and we welcome hearing from you at that point in time with respect to things that are not on tonight's agenda. But before we proceed, it is our proud custom to begin our meetings by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I would ask everyone present to please rise and join us in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask our fine village clerk, April Holden, to please call the roll.
Commissioner Wallace?
Here.
Commissioner Earl?
Here.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Here.
Commissioner White?
Here.
Commissioner Jose? Commissioner Barnett? Mayor Tully?
Here. Thank you very much. That brings us to item 3, which pertains to minutes of past council meetings. We have one set of minutes to review and approve tonight, and those are our regular council meeting minutes from November 14, 2017. If there are no changes, questions, comments, or corrections, I'll ask for a motion to approve those minutes, please.
I move that this council approve the meeting minutes from November 14th, 2017 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. Those minutes are approved. That brings us to item 4, which is reserved for proclamations. We have 2 proclamations tonight. The first is that many of you may know, and some of you may not know, that the Illinois Bicentennial is upon us. And the Illinois Bicentennial will be a year-long celebration between December 3rd, 2017 and December 3rd, 2018. And so in support of that, I'd like to read a proclamation and then give you some information about how the Village of Downers Grove will be participating as part of that statewide celebration. Whereas Sunday, December 3rd, 2017 marks Illinois' 199th birthday as Illinois became the 21st state in the Union on December 3rd, 1818. And whereas the Illinois Bicentennial will be a year-long celebration between December 3rd, 2017 and December 3rd, 2018, which will be our state's 200th birthday. And whereas the Illinois Bicentennial will remind us all that every day in Illinois, amazing things are born, built, and grown. Whereas Illinois Bicentennial will honor the many ways that Illinois has influenced American history, achievement, culture, innovation, and more. And whereas the Illinois Bicentennial is a once-in-a-lifetime invitation to fall in love with Illinois all over again. And whereas together we can inspire pride in Illinois and show the world what makes us so great. Whereas our community should encourage citizens, organizations, businesses, congregations, and cultural and educational institutions to participate in the year-long celebration by submitting applications for endorsement of their events and projects by Illinois Bicentennial on the Participate page at Illinois200.com. That's Illinois200.com. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Downers Grove endorses the efforts of the Illinois Bicentennial and encourages all citizens to participate and celebrate in the proud upcoming year by visiting Illinois200.com and using the hashtag #IllinoisProud. Dated this day of November 1st, November 2017 in the Village of Downers Grove. And I feel like I should present this to somebody, and I thought, who would be the most ubiquitous representation of the state of Illinois, but our own representative, David Olson. And of course, he couldn't be here tonight, but I wonder if we said his name 3 times, he might have appeared.
Tell him we're opening a letter.
Well, I have a proclamation for him, so I'm not even sure for that. But I'll give it to him later. I think that would be a good, give it to our state representative, or maybe our state Senator John Kern. So the Village of Downers Grove will be participating in a bicentennial flag raising. Yes, there's an official Illinois bicentennial flag, and all municipalities throughout the state are being asked to participate on Monday, December 4th by raising that flag, and we will be doing that at noon on Monday, December 4th. The village will host an Illinois bicentennial flag raising ceremony at the flagpole in front of Village Hall, which is in and of itself a historic flagpole. More on that to come. All are invited to attend and participate in the launch of what is to be a year-long celebration of our state's 200th birthday. Simultaneous events are being held in municipal buildings across the entire state of Illinois. The event will include a mayoral proclamation and ceremonial raising of the Illinois bicentennial flag, which we have in our possession. I can confirm this. It is being watched closely by top people. Light refreshments, including pumpkin pie, the official state pie of Illinois, will be served following the event. So please join us at noon, Monday, December 4th, at Village Hall, at the flagpole, and be part of the photos that will be archived by the state for this once-in-a-lifetime event. I just had goosebumps. But there's more. We have another proclamation, and this one is more local and has a more economic bent to it. As we always do every year, we celebrate and encourage everyone else to celebrate Small Business Saturday. November 25th, 2017 is Small Business Saturday, a nationwide campaign to spur business for small merchants. And whereas the Village of Downers Grove celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community, and whereas the Village of Downers Grove supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our economy, and preserve our neighborhoods, and whereas small businesses are the heartbeat of our community and local economy. Now, therefore, I, Martin T. Tully, Mayor of the Village of Downers Grove, do hereby proclaim Saturday, November 25th, 2017, as Small Business Saturday in the Village of Downers Grove, and urge all citizens to support businesses in Downers Grove throughout the year. And typically, I would present this to the head of our Downtown Management Corporation, Linda Kunze. She could not make it, but maybe if we say her name 3 times, she might appear. But I actually think she's busy getting ready for all the festivities that I'm sure we'll be hearing about, immediately following the Thanksgiving holiday, including the world-famous Downers Grove Main Street Christmas tree, holiday tree lighting, which, of course, we always then remind everyone that kicks off Small Business Saturday and the Shop Local campaign here in Downers Grove. There'll be lots more information about that coming. So thank you for your patience with those 2 proclamations. That then brings us to item 5, which, as I mentioned earlier, is reserved for public comments of a general nature. If there are any members of the audience who have any questions or comments of a general nature that would like to address the council, please come to the podium, tell us who you are, and we'll welcome hearing from you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Michael Casa. I'm president of the Downers Grove Economic Development Corporation, 5159 Mokel in downtown Downers Grove. Tully and village commissioners. Tomorrow morning, Ashley Furniture is going to open their store. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that after years of trying to land them, they chose Downers Grove for their store in this trade area. And when they signed their lease agreement, they gave us a challenge, actually it was quite more than a challenge, that they needed to be open by Black Friday, which when we looked at the calendar, that seemed like an impossibility. But I wanted to commend the Community Development Department. They worked with them very closely and made this happen, and they're actually going to be open 2 days earlier than their goal. So I think that's really good news, and again, thank you to Stan and his team. They'll be taking over the space that used to be occupied by Savers. The other thing I want to mention is that on the 7th of December, from 4:30 to 6:30, we're holding our annual open house. Certainly every member of the council and the village staff are invited. If you'd like to attend, just contact our office. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Casa. Other questions or comments from members of the audience? Items of a general nature. Very good. Hearing that there are none, we'll move on to our consent agenda, which is item 6. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Martelli, I move that this council approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to any of the items on tonight's consent agenda? Any questions or comments from members of the village council? Hearing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Walden?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl? Aye. Mayor Tully?
Aye. Consent agenda passes unanimously. That brings us to item...
I didn't call Commissioner Barnett, I didn't see him, I'm sorry.
That's what happens when you're late to class.
It's not too late to vote.
Aye.
It's still unanimous. Thank you. That brings us to item 7, which is our active agenda. We have no items on our active agenda tonight, so we'll go right to item 8, which is our first reading or our workshop agenda. This is a less formal portion of our meeting. You wouldn't know that because we didn't do the more formal portion of the meeting. But the workshop or first reading part of the meeting is for presentation of items only. No final action will be taken at this time. Typically what we do is ask staff to present the item for initial questions and comments by the council, and then we'll open it up for public comment thereafter. So with that, I will ask our village manager, Dave Fieldman, to introduce the first item, 8A, please.
Thank you. Item 8A is a resolution regarding an agreement with Pugie of Chicagoland. This is in regards to Pugie's continued investment and expansion in their dealerships on Ogden Avenue. And here to present more information on this item is Economic Development Corporation President Michael Castle.
Welcome back, Mr. Castle.
Thank you. Once again, Michael Casa, President of the Downers Grove Economic Development Corporation, 5159 Mokel in downtown Downers Grove. Mayor Tully and Village Commissioners, I'm here to present a proposed third amendment to the sales tax rebate agreement between the Village of Downers Grove and Downers Grove Imports Limited, doing business as Pugie of Chicagoland. The Village entered into a sales tax rebate agreement with Pugie of Chicagoland in 2005 to provide incentives to operate a Volkswagen dealership within the Village. Pugie of Chicagoland now operates 3 dealerships in the Ogden corridor: Volkswagen at 2020 Ogden, Mazda at 1850 Ogden, and Hyundai at 1866 Ogden. The agreement was also amended in 2009 and 2011. Under terms of the proposed agreement, Pugie shall complete the improvements to the Mazda building as shown on the building improvement concept plans and complete the improvements to the parking lot as shown on the approved parking lot plans. They shall complete these improvements no later than the end of 2018. Pugie shall continue to operate the dealerships until December 31st, 2033, and shall be subject to the reimbursement payments in the current agreement as they may be revised to comport with the revised terms of the agreement. For the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31, 2028, the Village shall rebate 50% of the sales tax revenue generated by the dealerships above the base sales tax revenue amount. The base sales tax amount shall be the amount of sales tax revenue generated by the dealerships in 2023. So this is above and beyond the revenue we're already receiving. And of course, all other terms and conditions in the existing agreements shall remain in full force and effect. During the 5-year period when sales tax rebates will be provided, which again is 2024 to 2028, the Pugie dealerships are projected to generate an average of $820,000 per year in gross sales tax revenue to the Village. The projected average annual rebate payment is $35,000 with a net average annual Village revenue of $785,000. This agreement with Pugie demonstrates to the auto dealer community that Downers Grove remains the premier location for dealerships and that we are not only interested in attracting new dealerships to our community, but also to the sustained success of existing dealerships in the Ogden Avenue corridor. The Downers Grove Economic Development Corporation strongly supports this agreement with Pugie. In fact, I am convinced that this agreement will be a beautiful thing. I want to thank the Village staff, in particular Manager Fieldman, Village Attorney Enzo Petracca for their work on this. And it's my pleasure to introduce Dominic from Pugie. Would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, welcome.
Thank you. I thank the council for hearing our petition. I've been a member of this family here for 27 years. Looking forward to continue that growth. We're a family business. My 2 youngest daughters are in the business. My youngest daughter is 37. She is the dealer designate. So her job is to carry on what we're doing here and to continue to grow our business. And I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions or comments from either staff or the petitioner, from members of the Village Council? In the Thanksgiving spirit, none.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from members of the audience? All right, very good. Next item, please. And
next
very
items-
briefly, thank you for your continued investment in our community.
Thank you, Mayor. The next several items have to do with the property at 2125 Ogden Avenue. And background information on this petition will be presented by our Community Development Director, Stan Popovich.
Good evening, Mr. Popovich.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. The item tonight before you is an alley vacation, special use with variations in a platted subdivision for 2125 Ogden Avenue. The property is on the west side of Ogden Avenue at the southeast corner of Belmont Road and Ogden Avenue, shown here circled in green. If we zoom in a little bit, you can see this is the parcel from a little bit higher up, and then the alley here outlined south of the existing parcel. If we continue to zoom into the parcel a little bit, what you'll see is this existing conditions. There are 4 curb cuts, 2 onto Belmont, 2 onto Ogden Avenue. There's an existing small former gas station convenience center there. To the east side of the property is a former car wash, and then an existing detention basin at the northeast corner of the property. Petitioner is proposing to redevelop the property. You can see here in blue and towards Ogden Avenue there is a gas station canopy there. The building to the south is the convenience store, and to the right is a restaurant, a drive-through restaurant, takeout restaurant with a little patio in the front as well. You can see additional green space on the sides and the rears and the front. You can also see here there is a right in, right out on Belmont Road, so that would limit traffic, so you can't make a left from southbound Belmont Road into the site there. And then Ogden Avenue, there's a single curb cut on Ogden Avenue that has full access out onto Ogden Avenue. So it reduces curb cuts from 4 to 2. The alley vacation is along that green space there. The proposed drive-through lane, which is in this location, goes into that alley a little bit, but mostly that alley is used for green space and will be screened from the adjacent residential property. So you can see that according to the site layout, the drive-through lane wraps around both buildings, and that's really, in essence, to provide some parking along the Belmont Road side of the convenience store and to get the traffic circulating around the building without impacting the 2 entrances onto the property there as well. This is the proposed convenience store gas station, so that would be aluminum siding with some brick and some stone as well. A lot of glass in the front main facade, which is the north facade. And then this is an artist rendering of the restaurant building there. Again, panels, aluminum panels and some large windows there with an outdoor seating element as well. With regard to the platted subdivision, currently there are 5 individual lots on the property with an alley in the back. Petitioner is proposing to subdivide into 2. You will see the odd shape of the lots there is due to making sure that the canopy and all the gas station items are on the gas station lot, which is on the left-hand side there. And then with the alley being vacated, half the portion of the alley would go with the lot where it's subdivided at as well. With regard to the comprehensive plan, the site is a catalyst site. It's catalyst site D5. It's been noted as an underutilized parcel. The site's been vacant for some time now. There's opportunity to redevelop and enhance here. So the enhancements include the elimination of 2 curb cuts, 1 on each of the adjacent roads, and then some additional green space and some pedestrian connections to Ogden and Belmont as well. It is a corridor commercial use, so it's auto-oriented, which this would be, and it would both serve local and regional customers as well. With regard to the different criteria, Staff and Plan Commission found that those criteria were met and recommended approval of the item. Mr. Lavoie is here. If there's any questions that you have of him, or if there's anything that I can answer for you tonight, I'd be happy to do that as well.
Thank you. Are we going to take questions on B through E?
Yes.
All right, then questions or comments from the council for staff or the petitioner with respect to items 8, B through E as in Edward. Commissioner Earl.
I just want to let you guys know that I do not support this redevelopment. I do not believe that we meet the alley vacation standards. I do not believe that the 66-foot frontage on Ogden Avenue is in any way appropriate. I don't think the variation request was approved by the neighbors. It certainly wasn't. no negative or positive doesn't mean that you were successful in contacting them, and there needs to be some agreement, I think, if we're going to vacate the alley. That's always been the way it's been done. I don't believe this meets the comp plan standards, and I will not be supporting it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions? Commissioner Waldeck?
Thank you, Mayor. I questioned staff on the contact with the neighbors. I'm considering all that now. It seemed to be quite lacking. Possibly, maybe more to the maybe it's more the neighbors' fault in not getting back, and then maybe not. I was disappointed over the Plan Commission minutes, which seemed to think that when questioned about contact with the neighbors, that it rested totally with the petitioner, that they weren't totally sure what was sent out and what was covered, although there is a 250-foot radius, which may or may not be enough. I think it's important to hear from the neighbors, so in the time off, between the workshop time here and the time that we actually vote on it, I would like to see more of a effort to get in touch with the neighbors and the homeowners association and the condo owners, etc. I think maybe a couple months now, we had a resident come in a similar type situation where there's a drive-through in the back, and she had a lot of concerns about the garbage, not just the enclosure, but just the general use. And I think hearing from the neighbors is extremely important. So in the time off, I'd like to hear more about that. There was also an awful lot of material presented. The Plan Commission kind of scratched the surface on some of the issues with the storage tanks, the notifications and such. I think what we tend to look at is the fact that this is a vacant property. Is it underused? For a long time, and then when somebody comes along with something new, we tend to jump at it and say, "Oh, this is great! You know, it's finally something that's vacant and underused and looks terrible. It's now finally going to be used." But we're also looking at. I really want to dig more into the history because we're not changing owners here. It's been like this it has quite a history. I'm not quite familiar with the entire history, and I do want to get familiar with all of that. For a decade, when somebody owns something and they let it deteriorate, and then suddenly they come in with something, this is a catalyst site, and I think it's important, and I just need time to review the history, make sure that we get feedback from the neighbors, and that we're really looking at this as a catalyst site and not just, gee, thank God somebody's coming by to clean it up a little bit. I want to go beyond that, so thank heavens we got some time to think about it. And I will. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments? Commissioner Barnett?
I'd like to hear more from Marge and Bill. The process aside, is the problem in your minds the process or the actual use in question? That is important to me as I'm trying to, through the workshop and over the next couple weeks, understand everybody's position on it. The radius of seeking resident input or neighbor input has been in question for 9 years up here. We talked about it last week even. But the use that's contemplated there strikes me as one that is arguably a continuation with a slight expansion of what's been there for 15 or 20 years. I mean, it was a mobile before it was what it is today. So continuing the idea of a power marked gas thing, I mean, they're adding certainly some expanded services, but it's totally consistent, it seems to me, with what that site's been used for a better part of 20 years. So I'm just curious if you guys could talk more about, is it the process or the use or both? And then if it's the use, what parts of this use are, problematic to you?
I have a problem with the drive-through.
Drive-through?
There's no, once you're in that drive-through, there's no out.
Starbucks-esque?
I don't believe it's well laid out. As far as the use goes, it's been a gas station there. That's not, the problem isn't the gas station. The problem is with subdividing the lots. The problem is with the alley vacation and the method they've gone about it, and the methods they're trying to justify the price tag of it. I don't agree with such a narrow frontage for any lot that we're reconfiguring onto Ogden Avenue. We have enough problem with the size of the lots on Ogden Avenue. Going anything under the minimum, I think is not acceptable.
That's the same as the existing, right? The frontage on Ogden Avenue as a result
It's
of...
actually a lot less now.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Why can't this be one lot, just out of curiosity?
The petitioner can answer the question in terms of splitting it.
Hi, everyone. Chris Lavoie, CM Lavoie, representing Power Mart. I just couldn't wait to get up and address Mr. Waldeck's, Commissioner Waldeck's comments about the signature and the notifications. And it's important to know that the process started back in 2016 with registered letters to all of the property owners contiguous to that alley. And that was, the results of that was a no response from that property owner. And is there a plan that we can put up, Mike, that shows the lot configuration? So you can see which parcels were involved? But anyway, with that, there's one property owner, you can see the black lines there if you look closely, on the overlay. Those black lines indicate those separate parcels. And after the initial proposal that was done back in 2016 for the redevelopment of this property, I took this project over back in late 2016, and we are well aware of the situation with the alley. We actually rewrote the letter, make it more descript, and we sent all of the plans, all of the, not just the notification, but we sent everything to that property owner to the south, and we also reached out to them. And one of the things that I wanted to tell you is that the amount of work that it took to find and to get a response from property owners was extensive. I had to go to the assessor's office, cross-reference PIN numbers, because of the way that the ownership is structured through a company. That company, the address of that company had changed, so I spent an awful lot of time going to the recorder's office to locate and cross-reference information on the tax records to actually find an individual who was associated with the company that is registered in Illinois, in Springfield, as an LLC. So I finally actually found an individual. I went to his house. I waited in his driveway. I did that multiple days. I finally contacted him. I finally talked to him. Wanted to set up a meeting with him. I wanted to sit down and discuss the whole project with him. And it was just not going anywhere. And I really could not get a clear answer from that individual. I have actually met him and gone to see him in Naperville at his house to discuss it, to see if he would be willing to entertain a signature of approval. His feeling was that I have an approval for 12 condos on the property to the south. And he made several comments that were scattered in nature, I would say, that from a crossover access, which we volunteered to do because we had the space to do it, but never could get a clear answer from him if he was willing to do it or not. And then it went silent. And then it went to the point where, I expressed my frustrations with Village, with staff, and I was also very transparent about the number of times I've called them, when I've called them, what I sent to them, when I sent it to them, and it was extensive to find this guy. Now, the condo is also part, and is also contiguous to this alley. However, the individual units are technically not contiguous. It's the underlying lot. So we actually went to locate those owners. We banged on doors. We knocked on doors, and we did find one individual that lives there. There are several units that are vacant, and the individual that lives there signed the document. And also, with multiple tries of multiple people in our development process, we also got a second signature from him representing the condo ownership as a treasurer. We sent out a lot of information here by registered mail, and we did absolutely everything that I could to locate them, to get them to respond. And the condo ownership did respond with a signature, and so did he personally for living there. But we were unable to get any response from people that own the condos because they're not living there. So the addresses and where do you send them, this created this unique situation where I could not find them. I spent days looking for these people, and I just could not get them. And the notices were sent. The property to the east, the other dealership signed off on it, but technically they're not contiguous to it because the alley behind them, they do not own. But they did sign it. So we did our absolute best effort, and I can stand here in front of you tonight saying no one could have done better. I spent 2 days in the recorder's office trying to find that individual, and finally I found him. I went to him at night to locate him, to see how we could make this work, and I just could not get any headway with either in favor or not in favor. And with that, I came to staff, and then we decided that we have met the requirement, and we have exhausted our efforts to get that communication done. And even if it was a no, I invited him personally. I'll come get you to bring you to Plan Commission. I just could not get him to engage. So, but in his mind, he has the opportunity to build 12 condos on the property to the south. And he had some comments about our site development, and it's something you please come and share your thoughts with Plan Commission and with you. And I just could not get him to do it. With regard to some of the other comments, the lot separation allows the owner, permits the owner to either do a ground lease or at least to a different owner without impacting each other's business. And it's ideal for other ownership to come in and actually run the restaurant. There is one selected, but the lease has not been signed yet, so I can't disclose who the owner is or who the leasing tenant's going to be. But the restaurant and the configuration of the site really does work well. From a traffic standpoint, we're eliminating access points. From a parking standpoint, it's clean, it's neat. The traffic flows work very well. We incorporated a very unique design here for the Catalyst site, which is really based on shipping containers. So it's very attractive for millennials. It's very attractive. It'll be a very attractive site when it's done. And it incorporates some new design components that you see elsewhere, but you don't see here. And the way it's designed, we extend that drive-through lane to prevent any stacking from obstructing traffic. And stormwater's taken care of, all of our ordinance requirements are taken care of. But this doesn't necessarily meet, and a lot of times this is the case, where we have a piece of property, well, it doesn't really fit our code very well. And with that, the lot depth really dictated the acquisition, or the potential acquisition of the alley. But what else are we going to put there that will work, that will be effective, and will be attractive to the village of Downers Grove? And with this site being a gas site, one of the things that the owner has done here is he applied for a grant. And that grant was granted. Basically, it's for, these pumps are unique to just Power Mart, and they're pumping gas that is E30, they're pumping gas that is different blends of ethanol, and the grant came out of the corn industry. So they support this development with giving them a grant to actually take all the tanks out of the ground and put all new tanks in and all new pumps that are only specific to Power Mart. So from that perspective, it's green. I couldn't even notice the change in mileage in my truck when I put the E30 in it. So it's something that we think that this site, along working with staff, is a good design. It flows very nicely. It works well. And I think that patio area in front of the restaurant will be attractive, and I think it'll be something that will get a lot of use and will benefit the community.
Thank you. No, I appreciate the efforts. You know, those types of efforts really don't come through in the...
Understood. That's why I couldn't wait to talk to you.
As a matter of fact, in the minutes, it actually looked like an abdication of responsibilities that kind of scared me. And staff responded to my questions regarding, and you've added to it. I appreciate that. The storage tanks from a number of years ago are still there. They're going to be removed. You're going to put in new ones.
All new. The whole infrastructure is new.
Does it require like IEPA or certificates of remediation or anything?
It's actually controlled by the State Fire Marshal's office.
By whom?
State Fire Marshal's office.
Okay.
So all of the installation is inspected by them, and they have applied for separate permits outside of the village to do that work.
Because given what's happened in a very close neighboring community that affected so many, it's should be on the top of our minds. So.
It certainly was on the top of my mind when I saw that.
That's scary. Yeah,
it is.
Okay, I appreciate it, and like I say, I also appreciate that we're workshopping this and that we have a little time to think about it and come up with additional questions, or not.
And if there's anything you'd like me to do between now and when you vote, if there's more information that you would need, I'd be happy to do it.
I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments? Commissioner Barnett?
Another one, Mayor, sorry. Is the method of dealing with the dumpster, is that essentially you're going to work with your hauler and have that be always off hours? That's got to be the process, right?
Yes, that'll be off hours. And the gas, actually tanker coming into the site will all be off hours as well.
Oh, that's off hours, okay. I guess the only other question I had had to do with the construction of the building, and if you could elaborate on that. Doesn't have to be tonight at the podium, but in writing a little bit, maybe tell us a little bit more about that and give us some examples of usage like that, this container issue idea, and how it's going to look. And I mean, I see the renderings. It looks way different, which could be cool if it lasts. So because we've got some questions about the sale of the vacation, rather, of the alleyway and some of the lot sizing things relative to our ordinances, I'd like to just have a little bit more descriptive write-up on that building construction and what experiences others have with it around.
Sure, really just a quick answer. I'll deliver more information to you. But the quick answer here is it's exploded across the country. I mean, there's all kinds of container restaurants going up everywhere. I mean, downtown Detroit, Cleveland. There's a project that if you want to look it up, the Fountain is a container restaurant right in the heart of Detroit. There's also another one called Avante in Denver that is turning $10 million a year with a converted building that they made a restaurant. There's also opportunities for these restaurants to actually be inserted into bigger spaces. And the bigger space creates a courtyard that has many opportunities for different venues in the same facility. So there's all kinds of concepts, and I'll send you a litany of those if you'd like to see them. So
yeah, please do.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments from the council? The only thing that I'll add from a historical perspective is once upon a time, the new McDonald's that is further west from this location on the south side of Ogden Avenue, it was contemplated at one point in time this might be a really good location for it and not a undissimilar type of layout. Certainly, without question, there was going to be a drive-through if it was going to be a McDonald's restaurant, particularly given the one that was there. That was not an available option at the time for various reasons, so it ended up going where it is today. But I think that was the last time that we were exploring something specific in mind for this particular site, just for those who are interested.
One more thing. If either staff or Mr. Lavoy want to correct us or provide specifics, just looking at the drawings without a scale in hand, that drive-through, sort of lineal feet of drive-through available for stacking and discharge strikes me as big or bigger than most that we have currently operating along Ogden Avenue. It's pretty unscientific, but if you guys could follow up with that a little bit.
I think you can pretty much envision 75th of Lamont, Dunkin' Donuts drive-through in your mind, and you don't need to go out and measure it.
Yeah,
Or Starbucks, yeah, right.
You don't even have to measure
Or
it.
Panera Bread or some of the others.
You know, one of the original designs had the drive-through between the buildings, and I just didn't think at that point that's going to cause traffic back up in the parking lot and disrupt the motion through the site. So putting it through around the convenience store worked well. There's no way that we could ever, based on the time at the window, which is really at the north end of that building, or near the north end of the building, that stacking wouldn't be adequate. So it's we think that with the refinements and staff looking at it, we've gone through several iterations of the site design on how it is gotten to what you see now. It's gone through several different modifications, and I think that this is the solution that really works well.
Commissioner Molnak.
Thanks again. Theoretically, when people are lined up to get their food at the drive-through, if they change their mind or whatever, can they pull out of the line and go around, or is there an escape, or are you stuck?
There's no escape.
Okay, so once you're in line, you're in line.
You're in line.
Okay. Any way to get around that?
I mean, it's possible. What I'm dealing with there is that number one, the setback to the east, and number two, there's a existing concrete wall detention area that's at grade, but it's the four walls surround. It's like you're looking at a foundation of a building, and I'm utilizing that and reusing that, driving the stormwater in the same pattern, and that is in that drive-through area. So that's also a restriction for me to actually cover that with precast and do that in that way. So I've kind of set the building in an area there that will work. Moving it off could work, but it's something that when I do that, everything else snowballs into other issues related to parking and access and sidewalk, and so it was really difficult to make happen. But we did explore that, but it's something that to do it for that long, I'd prefer to have the green space, to tell you the truth. I wouldn't want to see a bypass lane all the way because it just eats up the green.
Thank you. Since this is a workshop, it's something I would like to see in drive-throughs is a bypass route, some way when something goes wrong and or you need to get out of line. I always like that option. So it's something to pass on to staff, and I appreciate your situation. Thank you.
Stall the car.
Yeah.
Kills the drive-through.
Or emergency call or whatever. There's reasons why you may not want to stay in line, and it's tough when you're trapped.
Thanks.
Mr. Lavoy, are there industry best practices for drive-through escape?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Are there industry best practices regarding the ability to escape from a drive-through line? Does the architectural engineering industry talk about this topic?
No, it doesn't. It's something that I think with a little rework that I could get a bypass lane in there. It would change the building design slightly. But then if you have one, do you want it to go all the way around the building or not? And I just don't want to eat up the space to do that. We also explored the opportunity to put a drive-through, a lane between the two buildings, which still could be done.
If I could just chime in on that, actually, that's a topic about site design that comes up quite often in planner and site design circles. For those of you who've been on the council for a while or involved in our land use boards, you may recall we used to have a requirement for escape routes, escape lanes out of drive-throughs, and with our reworking of our zoning ordinance in 2014, give or take, we decided at that point to not require that. There are give and takes, pros and cons. Certainly, site planning becomes more efficient, as Mr. Lavoie has pointed out, green space, and you can maneuver better on tight sites. The trade-off, of course, is with no escape lane, you can get stuck in a drive-through. So those are some of the trade-offs, but it does come up quite often.
Thank you.
Other questions before I open it up to the audience? All right, well, thank you. Questions or comments from members of the audience with respect to this item? Please. Good evening, welcome.
Evening, Scott Richards, 1130 Warren Avenue. Certainly don't have any complaint about redeveloping this because we all admit it's an eyesore now, has been for some time. I like the use of adding some landscaping of the greenery in there. I think that's going to enhance it. I just had a couple questions. How it exists now, I believe there's retention on site on the east side. And then looking at this, I mean, I got lost on, he mentioned it's up there somewhere, but I'm just looking at that. Is that all grass? Is it retention area gone for water?
So put underground.
It's underground, so it won't be a gully or any type of a basin there?
That's correct, underground basin.
Okay, but enough to take care of this property then? Oh,
Yes.
Okay. I was curious too on the patio area. It looks very large in front of the restaurant. What are the hours going to be? Is this going to be a 24-hour type business, or I'm just curious?
I'll let the petitioner answer that question. I don't know if they know yet. If they don't know, the lease set with the lessee is.
Yes, thank you for your questions. We haven't finalized, Power Mart hasn't finalized the lease agreement with them yet, but there is a time restriction. It will not be a 24-hour restaurant. No, it will not be. And yes, the vault will be reused. All the stormwater goes that way now, and that's something that we always like to take advantage of existing facilities if we can.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your questions. Other questions or comments from the audience, of staff, or the petitioner, or the council? Thank you for those that were asked. Obviously, we're not making any final decisions tonight. As Commissioner Wallach pointed out, there'll be some time before there's a vote on this. Any other questions or comments or requests from members of the council? All right, hearing none, thank you. We'll move on to the next item.
We have a couple of follow-up items from that last discussion, which we will get to the council. Mr. Lavoie will help us get that information to the council as well. Finally, tonight, our last item is approval of a final plat of subdivision at 3600 Lacey Road. Stan will have additional information on this one as well.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members again. It's a final plat of subdivision for 3600 Lacey Road. The property is located on the northern side of town here, outlined here in orange. The property is at the intersection of Finley and Lacey Roads. It's a very large parcel. Has access on both Lacey and Finley. It's outlined in green here. Currently, it's one lot, and what the petitioner is proposing to do is to divide the property into 5 lots, so 3 lots, lots 1, 2, and 3 on the northern side of the property, which will be buildable, and now Lot A, which would contain the detention basin for the development, and then now Lot B, which would remain principally natural. There's a creek through there that runs through there and a wetland, so that area is generally unbuildable currently, so the petitioner has proposed to put that in an outlot at that location there. And since all the lay of the land runs from north to south, this would facilitate the water moving that way as well. The ultimate site plan here is you see 3 brown outlined buildings and 3 brown blocks. That'll be the buildings that are proposed. There are 3 entrances, 2 off of Lacey Road and 1 off of Finley Road. The entrance on Finley is already cut into Finley Road there at that location. You can see where the detention basin would be at that location as well. The 2 northern lots are connected, so there's going to be cross-access throughout and around each of those buildings there. And then the south lot, the south property, based on topography, we couldn't connect the buildings there, and the drive aisles just based on slope at that location to be able to get a flat building pad and then to move down as you go from north to south. The petitioner, I'm flipping the map here, so this is a planner thing that drives me crazy, but I have to flip it this way to get some detail on here. So north is to the right here. Petitioner's going to be making some improvements to Lacey Road to continue the boulevard from just north where the former Sarah Lee building is. So there'll be some additional green space, boulevard look in Lacey Road, and we'll expand the road to the west. We do not have to obtain any right-of-way. The right-of-way is wide enough there. And then additionally, they'd be installing a sidewalk here, so that would connect the sidewalk from the north down to the south, where there's an existing sidewalk existing on Finley Road. With regard to the comprehensive plans, office corporate campus, the proposed office industrial development is a good fit here. It will attract regional businesses here, and it'll be high-quality buildings near the major regional roadways, 355, 88, Finley, Lacey, and Butterfield as well. With regard to the subdivision criteria, all those criteria in terms of lot sizes are met. Steve Grotsma with Bridge Development's here to speak as well tonight.
Thank you, Stan.
You're welcome.
Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners, for coming out tonight. As Stan said, my name is Steve Gretzma. I'm a partner at Bridge Development Partners. We're the contract purchaser of this site currently, and I've been working hand in hand with Stan to get this developed. I'm just here to say, state our excitement for this site. This is really a unique development site. What we do is we're in 5 markets: Chicago, New Jersey, Miami, Seattle, and Los Angeles, and we're the most active infill developer of this product type in the United States here. We couldn't be more excited about this site. The goal here is to attract corporate tenants, as Stan said, who are demanding a more modern building than what is currently served by and large by Downers Grove's industrial and flex base here. Said simply, it's kind of we're trying to proactively provide opportunities for companies to either stay in Downers Grove or come to Downers Grove, just like you guys did with the Rexnord deal, but proactively give them those opportunities to upgrade their facilities that they currently can't do. This is, in my opinion, one of the most exciting, notable developments that our industry is going to see. We are intending to, and I hope we've shown already, that our attention to detail on this, and this is going to be a best-in-class development where we're going to work with Downers Grove and try to bring you some corporate neighbors and jobs that will make you guys proud. And I would just like to say it's really been a pleasure working with Stan and staff, as well as the Economic Development Committee. First class all the way. This is so far about as good as it's been for us. Just a wonderful process, and we look forward to delivering for you guys. So I thank you again for coming tonight and for potentially giving us the opportunity to do this with you in Downers Grove.
Sure. Well, thank you for that, and thank you for the investment in Downers Grove. And I appreciate you. Thank you for coming here tonight, but we kind of had no choice. We had kind of.
I still appreciate it.
Still appreciate it. Thank you for coming here tonight. Any questions from members of the council of either staff or the petitioner? Very good. Then I'll ask if there's any questions or comments from members of the audience. Please.
Okay. Still Scott Richards, 1130 Warren Avenue. I want to make sure I'm understanding the location of this. Is this along Finley, on the west side of Finley?
We'll go back to the map.
Is it anywhere, like, is that where the Esplanade and that corporate center is? Is that near there?
Yes, sir.
So this is all going to be dumping onto Finley Road from this parcel?
Lacey, yeah.
Okay. Because just My biggest concern is the traffic, is how it's going to absorb. This looks like a pretty good parcel, pretty project. And if anybody's sitting in Finley, like a lot of us do, later in the, early afternoon, rush hour, I'm just curious as far as a traffic study will be done on this, hopefully, so we have some idea what to expect when this thing is in place and starts dumping cars onto Finley. I'd be curious about that. I know we're early stages, but it gets pretty dicey on there on Finley Road. I don't use it in the morning, but I can tell you what in the evening looks like and how far back the lines back up. So, just curious. Hopefully they will pay attention to the traffic on that.
Thank you, and we will, because obviously there's a lot more undeveloped parcels up there that we hope to develop someday. So it's certainly not an area that we're not long-term wanting to put a lot more development into. That's pretty much what it's zoned for. I mean, that's where this kind of development should be. But understood. Traffic and parking have been important issues since Pierce Downer rode it on his horse and wagon, and they will always be, even when we have flying cars. Thank you. Other questions or comments from the audience? Still on the audience. Questions or comments from members of the council? Commissioner Rowe.
Yes, I was wondering if staff had any sense from, I don't know if it's IDOT or county or whoever maintains that bridge over the highway on Finley as to whether it's going to stay narrower like that or whether at some point we can look at a widening of that bridge.
We will find out.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments from members of the council? Commissioner Waldeck.
Thank you. Staff can get back to me during the off time. Could we accomplish the same thing without the subdivision? I know the one lot area is going to be natural. I mean, it has its it's an LPDA. But can we accomplish the same thing without the dividing into 5 lots, or why is that being done?
Maybe the petitioner might help us answer that question.
On our end, we discussed this moving forward. Sorry, again, Steve Gretzma with Bridge Development Partners. It's really kind of a practical standpoint for us where the expectation is that each of these 3 buildings would be 3 very different users, one or more of whom may elect to purchase the facility. There's some large corporate users who own, and if it's all just on one pin, one lot, we can't sell off one of the buildings if Kellogg's would like to buy their facility. I'm just picking that name out of a hat. So it's really just kind of a practical standpoint from the operations of the real estate that we need that flexibility.
So the goal is to get basically one tenant in each of the buildings, or you could say
it's a speculative plan at this point. What we've seen is there's been a real significant flight to quality from corporate companies into these buildings, and by and large our developments in this area and the surrounding areas have gone to a single tenant. But these buildings are designed to be multi-tenanted, where there could be 2, 3, even 4 tenants in these facilities. So I can't guarantee at this point, but it would probably be a mix, would be my guess.
I suspect the idea is to have maximum flexibility. That way you can accommodate a whole different bunch of economic users and owners of the property to maximize the use of the buildings once they're built.
That's exactly right.
More of a curiosity question than something that...
Sure.
So,
we discussed it early on, and that it was just kind of for practical purposes.
Okay, very good.
Thank you again for coming tonight.
Thank you. just no restrictive covenants, okay? Thank you. Other questions or comments from members of the council? All right, well, again, we're not voting on this tonight, so thank you for the presentation. Again, thank you for the investment in our community.
And that ends our first reading tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, very good. That brings us to item 9, which is the mayor's report. We have one item under the mayor's report tonight. And what this is that this pertains to a resolution that would urge Governor Rauner to veto Senate Bill 1451, which pertains to small wireless facilities deployments, or basically the small cell tower acts. And the reason why this is something that, I think municipalities in DuPage County have unanimously been against this because of two things. Number one, it's a significant threat and erosion to local control. Basically, it throws out our zoning requirements, the kind of things we were talking about here tonight, where we'd like to see certain things done with projects. This would basically allow private users of wireless technology, and yes, it's 5G, which we all want 5G wireless, but it's important for municipalities, as demonstrated here tonight by the comments that a lot of us made and a lot of the questions that we asked, that we retain local control, and I think we want to have respect for our zoning ordinances. So this is something that's shared by most municipalities. In fact, I don't know of any municipality in DuPage and DuPage County as well has been against this because they're impacted on it. So number one, it's an erosion of local control with respect to our ability to control where these things would go and their size, shape, and so on and so forth. And they can be some significant pieces of equipment that can be put in places where we wouldn't like to have them there. But also, it's the financial aspect of it, what we can do in terms of negotiating. I don't know if it was this week or last week, we had two items where we had agreements with providers of this kind of technology, and we entered into agreements with them where we had an arrangement through negotiation where they would go and what we would be paid for their use of our rights of ways. The legislation that's currently on the governor's desk would erode our ability to do that. We don't often ask to put resolutions on our agenda like this, but this is something that, number one, is pretty much unanimously opposed by municipalities in DuPage County. It's opposed by DuPage County. In fact, I think Mayor Chirico of Naperville and Chairman Cronin held a particular push on it a while back. And then DuPage Mayors and Managers has been fighting alongside with municipalities to oppose this. And as our efforts, we've been joining in that effort. And I know I've looked in that respect even to our village attorney, Ms. Petrarca, in terms of the various flavors of this legislation that have been floated as to whether there was a version that we would find acceptable or not. Unfortunately, this one is not. We did call upon our representatives in both the House and the Senate to vote against this. I'm pretty sure that both Senator Curran and Representative Olson voted against it. But now it got through nonetheless and is on the governor's desk, so this is sort of our last chance to try to see if we can stop this legislation. So the reason it's on the agenda is for that reason alone. We don't do this very often, but to encourage the governor to veto it because it's just not good for municipalities. Commissioner Waldeck.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess one of the questions was raised is if we've ever done anything like this before, and I know you recall this several years ago when the council and staff went to Springfield and we were trying to get the last few dollars out of Springfield for our underpass. And at the same time, the DuPage mayors and managers, I would consider like a similar legislation that AT&T was pushing. And it was interesting going down to Springfield and talking to the representatives, and the parking lot was full of AT&T trucks and cars. And having worked for AT&T, I was shocked because I thought that's where we stored all of our equipment all of a sudden was in Springfield. They hit hard. And they do that because they can bypass local government. And it's a lot easier, believe it or not, to influence, and I do mean influence, legislators in Springfield than it is to work with local government municipalities. It's your right of way. I mean, we were talking tonight about a vacation of an alley. We've done vacations before. We actually sell the property. The mayor presented the issue quite well. It's your property. It belongs to you, and we represent you. And to turn that over to Springfield is a huge mistake. Somebody in southern Illinois isn't going to much care about your right-of-way. And we've handled it quite well in the past, and I think we will do so in the future. So, yeah, I definitely encourage the passage of this resolution, and that the governor should definitely veto it, and hopefully it'll go down in flames, because this isn't something for the public good. This is to help little business overcome. It's just private for-profit business trying to take away your right of way and your rights, and we need to prevent that. Thanks.
Thank you. So if there's any other questions about it, basically, I was just asking this to be on the mayor's report. We would adopt the resolution, then DuPage mayors and managers will collect all of them and present them from there on behalf of the DuPage municipalities. Commissioner Barnett.
I just want to add to Commissioner Waldeck, I can't quantify this evening, but if you add up the number of hours spent by residents and staff alike trying to manage, I guess is the best way to put it, relationships and interactions with public utilities, think about it, it's astounding. And what this does is essentially makes that even a little more difficult. So when you think about all those big white AT&T boxes that everybody hates out there, when you think about the time your turf got screwed up and we had very little control over ComEd, run down the list, think about your neighbors' experiences. This is a piece of legislation coming out of Springfield that would further diminish the ability of your village to be an advocate on your behalf. And it's typical vintage Springfield, and it should be vetoed, although I don't know that it'll survive, but it's still the right move.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions from the council? I don't know if there's any questions from the audience. Hearing none, then ask for a motion to adopt the resolution as presented, please.
Commissioner Kelly, I move that this council adopt the resolution as presented.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. Thank you. That motion, that resolution is adopted unanimously, urging Governor Rauner to veto Senate Bill 1451. And we'll communicate this to DuPage mayors and managers, and it will go with the other municipalities. They're doing a very similar thing either last night or tonight. That ends the mayor's report. There's so much going on this weekend that I don't want to steal everyone's thunder, so I'm going to save my comments for the council member reports and see what's left. Because there's a lot going on this weekend. This is one of the most active weekends in Downers Grove. A lot of different things going on. I know a number of my colleagues would like to share some of the things that are going on, including, I'm sure, Commissioner Waldeck with the downtown and Commissioner Wallace with the Bonfield race that starts hours away. But one thing I do want to mention is the tree lighting ceremony, which takes place every year, and it's a huge event. It's become quite an iconic event in Downers Grove. And that takes place on Friday, November 24th at 4:30 p.m., precisely at 4:30 p.m., not 1 second earlier. And it will be presaged by Santa coming downtown, the Santa Parade, and also, I don't know if it'll be Downers Grove. I think it's Downers Grove North this year. The Downers Grove North Marching Band will be coming down. And then that also kicks off the downtown local shopping season, which is something that goes on throughout the entire weekend that I know Commissioner Waldeck will talk about a little bit further. But I wanted to thank the Fedig family for donating this year's tree. And if you've been by the Main Street Station, you've seen the tree, which is all adorned with ornaments from multiple different organizations. And we want to thank everyone that prepared those, that were able to decorate the tree with local organizations' efforts. And thank the Fedig family for donating a very handsome tree, which we will put in all its splendor at precisely 4:30 p.m. Central Time on Friday, November 24th. So with that, I will turn to Commissioner Waldeck, who I'm guessing has a few things to say about some stuff going on.
Thank you, Mayor. Unlike what I did a couple of weeks ago, I kind of dominated the whole thing. I'll keep it a little shorter and allow most of you to chime in on all the activities. People like specials and bargains, and with Small Business Saturday coming up, it'd be a good idea to double check the www.downtowndg.org and check out the real bargains in town. There's a lot of description there, so it would take me a long time to go through it all. So you folks like to go through the papers and that, check out the website. The mayor did an excellent job with the proclamation for Small Business Saturday. Please participate in that. You can get just about anything you want within the borders of Downers Grove, so I urge you to shop within our boundaries. It helps us. People get upset when stores close and they wonder why. Well, I never shopped there. I would have, but so anyway, now's the opportunity. The stores rely on you, especially at this time of year. Our downtown has many shops, decorations, holiday windows, Santa Claus and everything you'd want from a Christmas atmosphere in a small town. I still have to wonder about the manhunt for the gingerbread man. I was thinking back to the 60s, there was this show called The Fugitive, and I thought maybe we ought to name the gingerbread man Dr. Richard Crumble. And he's being chased. Really, the bad guy involved was a one-armed gingerbread man, I guess. It was chewed off. But anyway, I digress. You can go into a shop in our downtown. Let's say, ladies, you're looking for a blouse for yourself or somebody else, and you can go into a store and you get personalized service. They'll treat you well. They want to make the sale. They'll let you know if it's a bad choice. You get a lot of, you'll get recommendations. If you go on Amazon, you're looking at a picture of a blouse, maybe several different angles, but you don't really see yourself in it or any comments. And if you're looking for recommendations, well, you drop down on the website and it says, other people who bought this also bought boxes of paper clips, office chairs, and a 3-pound jar of chocolate-covered raisins. So that really doesn't help you if you're looking for a blouse or top. So it's that personalized service that you get from dealing with actual people, and the people in the downtown are all set up for you. They're ready to party, so they want to make your Christmas great, and so do we. And now I leave it to the rest of you to fill it.
Thank you. And this council member report was brought to you by the Downers Grove Downtown Management Corporation. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wallace.
We are only one day away from the Bonfield Express 5K, which begins at 8:30 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning. From here on out, you can only do on-site race day registration at the Tivoli from 7 to 8 o'clock. It's $40 individual only, and there is no packet pickup or registration tomorrow, November 22nd. I'll be running with my entire family. I know Mayor Tully will be there as well, so come join us and 6,000 of your closest friends.
Well said. Thank you. Commissioner Barnett.
Thanks, Mayor. Your Downers Grove Downtown Library works hard at participating in everything that's going on in the village, tries to find a role to play, and this holiday weekend is no different. Friday, November 24th at 3:30, if you're not done running from Bonfield, run down to the library. Bring kids through preschool through second grade to a special story time at 3:30. It's a gingerbread story time, and they'll then wrap up and join the procession to the tree lighting ceremony, and we'll try and make sure they're not a minute late. And then library is also sort of home base for the event Commissioner Waldeck touched on, finding the gingerbread man. There is one at the library. There also are others throughout town, and when you think you found them all, or you and your kids have tracked them all down, head over to the library to pick up a prize. They'll be over there and congratulating everybody and helping them have a festive holiday weekend.
Thank you, Commissioner. And that gingerbread aspect will be part of the ongoing weekend gingerbread festival taking place in the downtown. Commissioner Earl.
I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving weekend.
Thank you very much. Mr. White.
I also wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and if there's any leftovers, we'll let the mayor take care of them.
Sounds like a plan to me. The one thing I want to add is that this weekend, of course, also features on Saturday, November 25th at 8 o'clock p.m. at the Clarence Johnson Auditorium at Downers Grove North High School here in Downers Grove, Muriel Anderson's annual hometown concert. Muriel Anderson, if you don't know, is a internationally famous guitar virtuoso who's born and raised here in Downers Grove. Now calls Nashville her home, but comes back for Thanksgiving every year and does us all the honor of a terrific concert that she does at the Downers Grove North. And that is at 8 o'clock on Saturday, November 25th. If you've never seen Muriel play, I would highly encourage you to check her out. Rumor has it that she'll have a new album called Eclipse. It may be a pre-release there, so you might want to come for that reason alone. But it truly is a great experience. I've seen her perform here in her annual Thanksgiving concert numerous times, and it really is quite spectacular. She is an incredible artist. So I just wanted to put that in there, too, as part of the plethora of things that are going on this weekend. And then last, just to pick up on some of the comments that my colleagues were just hinting at, of course, we are on the verge of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is about togetherness and gratitude. And I'm very glad that we all work together, and I have the opportunity to work with my colleagues on people's business and to work together with village staff. But the things that are best is when we work together as a council, staff, and as a community to keep our community a great place to live, learn, work, and play. So that's a terrific thing to remember this Thanksgiving season. And of course, gratitude. And I just want to say to each and every one of my colleagues and also staff and the community, very grateful to have the continued opportunity to work with you as mayor for these last 7 years. It is a terrific town, and we don't always agree on everything, but we all are pretty darn good about rolling up our sleeves, doing our homework, and sharing our views, and ultimately coming to an outcome that I think is really best in the long term for everyone. And that's one of the things that is truly terrific about this community, and something for which I'm very thankful. So I want to thank the community for all that you do to help us do our jobs for you. I want to thank our outstanding village staff, who is the best in DuPage County. We couldn't do any of this without everything that you do day in and day out, and frankly, we don't say thank you enough. So Thanksgiving is a time to share our gratitude to you. And then thank you to my colleagues as well, because if one person could do this, it would only be one, but there are 7 of us for good reason. And I think we work pretty well together, and I'm grateful to have an opportunity to work with each and every one of you. And best wishes to you and your families for a wonderful and joyous Thanksgiving. So with that, I have to go to the village manager's report.
Thank you. I do have a report tonight. On the line of celebrating, I want to celebrate some accomplishments and awards of the village. The village of Downers Grove has won a National Savvy Award for our stormwater utility community engagement campaign that you remember from early 2016. At their annual conference, the City County Communications and Marketing Association announced this award and recognizes us for outstanding local government achievements in communications. Just wanted to share a couple of the judges' comments. It can be difficult to make people care about utilities, but this campaign, especially the calculator, cleverly embraced the difficulty and successfully made people care. And my personal favorite, wow, great job making a difficult topic relatable and interesting. I just wanted to celebrate that national award because the people on our team worked very hard to do exactly what those judges put in writing when they gave us this award. So special thanks to our team leader, Doug Kozlowski, but this truly was an effort from every single department. Everybody participated in this, and I think it's another example of working together to get a great outcome for our community. And not to be outdone, the Finance Department received 2 awards from the Illinois Government Finance Officers Association. We get these so regularly, it seems pretty routine. It is not. We received the awards for excellence in annual budgeting and award for excellence in financial reporting. Not many towns receive one of those. We receive both of those on a regular basis. Thank you to Judy, Carol, Rob, and every single person on that team, and all the departments that support the implementation of the budget. So I want to say thank you to all of those team members and celebrate those awards. That is a report tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
That's a terrific report, and thank you for giving it, and thank you for everyone who made it possible. That brings us to item 11. Since I'm jumping around tonight, we'll go to the village attorney, Ms. Petrarca. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. 3 items to present this evening. The first is an ordinance vacating a portion of a public alley immediately south of 2125 Ogden Avenue. An ordinance authorizing a special use for Lot 2 of the Power Mart re-subdivision to permit a fueling station with a variation. And an ordinance authorizing a special use for Lot 1 of the Power Mart re-subdivision to permit a restaurant with a drive-through with variations. All 3 of these items will be on the December 5th active agenda. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any final councilmember reports? Hearing nothing further. Once again, just wish everybody, both here and watching at home, a very wonderful Thanksgiving holiday to you and your families on behalf of the entire village. And with that, may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that this council adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you and good night. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.